Jason and Crystalina Evert have spoken on 6 continents to more than 1 million people about the virtue of chastity, including World Youth Days in Spain and Australia. They are the authors of more than 10 books, including How to Find Your Soulmate Without Losing Your Soul and Theology of the Body for Teens. Jason earned a master's degree in theology and undergraduate degrees in counseling and theology with a minor in philosophy at Franciscan University of Steubenville. He's a frequent guest on radio programs throughout the country, and his television appearances include Fox News, MSNBC, the BBC, and EWTN. After speaking solo for several years, he teamed up with Crystalina, and the two married in 2003. Crystalina is the author of Pure Womanhood and runs the website Women Made New. Please give a big Catholic Jack welcome to Jason and Crystalina.
Thank you. Let's start our time together with a quick prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Saint Joseph, pray for us. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, it is a joy to be with you tonight. I actually grew up here in Arizona. Crystalina and I live 2 hours away, so it's always good to be home. And so I want to thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Father, for that introduction. I remember there was a priest on our college campus. His name was Father Gus. Now, Father Gus was about 4.5 feet tall. He was 85 years old, holy as Mother Teresa. And I remember one day, he's walking down the sidewalk with a group of college guys. Walking towards them was a group of beautiful young college women. And as they were passing each other, Father Gus had a little curious look on his face. And one of the girls said, "Oh, Father, how are you?" And he kind of smiled. He said, "Well, you asked, today's my birthday." And she said, "Oh." And they hugged him and they kissed him, and you know, and he looked sad. And they said, "What's the matter?" He said, "But nobody made me a birthday cake." And they're like, "Oh, Father God." And they hugged him, they kissed him, they hugged him, they kissed him. They said, "We're going to bake you a cake right now." And they ran off to the grocery store to make him a cake. Now, one of the college guys looked at Father Gus and said, "Father Gus, you're terrible. You know today is not your birthday." And he looked at him and winked and said, "That's how it's done, boys." Now, Father Gus, I mean, his heart was pure. He would haze the freshman girls like this all year long. He had a year-long supply of birthday cakes delivered to the monastery for freshman girls all year long. But, you know, his heart was pure. But the fact is, his heart, like ours, is made for love. But it's kind of tough to find it nowadays. I mean, we don't often even get to see it. I got to see it with my grandparents. They were married for 65 years. They had 10 kids, and their names were Joseph and Mary. So how do you beat that? And the coolest thing is they would flirt with each other incessantly. I grew up watching this. I remember walking in the kitchen one day, and my grandma's mixing something up. My grandpa walks in. He's feeling kind of frisky. And he sees her, and he goes, whack, and he slaps her in the thigh. And he's like, "Hi." He says, "My name is Joe." And she looks at him and she's like, "I know." They're 100, they're flirting, I love it. Now, she passed away about, I don't know, 7 years ago. I remember being at a funeral as they're about to close her coffin for the last time. And I'm next to my grandpa, and he's real weak. He's all his knee and hip replacements. And he's trying to kind of lean over the coffin just to get close to her one last time. It's kind of shaking, and leans down, and he gave her one kiss on the nose, and he said, "Bye, babe." And I saw that. I'm like, that's it. That's what I want. Like, I want a love that's stronger than death. And theirs was. I mean, years after she passed away, he was still having vivid dreams of her, that he would wake up in the morning, and the dream was so real, he started walking around the house looking for her. "Hey guys, where's Mom at? Where's Mom?" And they had to break the news to him month after month that she had passed away because he kept forgetting and kept looking for her. And I remember when he was nearing the end, he had to go into some heart surgery, and they asked him before, you know, the kids were like, you know, "Pop, you doing okay before the big surgery?" And he's like, "I'm doing fine." He said, "Either I'll wake up and I'll have dinner with my kids, or I won't wake up and I'm having dinner with my wife." And when you saw that, it's like, okay, all right, great. How do we get there from here? I mean, we live in a culture where more people hook up than even hold hands. I mean, Los Angeles has jewelry stores where you can now rent wedding rings. I mean, that's how bad it's got. I mean, you've got this hookup, friends with benefits culture. I mean, check this out. This is a sociological journal. It's peer-reviewed research studying the national climate of the sexual hookup culture on universities throughout America. And this was interesting. They surveyed college guys and girls, and one question they asked, what would you rather have, a hookup or a traditional romantic relationship? Do you know college males, as well as females, were far more likely to say, I would much rather have a traditional romantic relationship. But the challenge is, the behavior shown in the study was the total opposite. They found that students in college were twice as likely to hook up as go on a first date. Students who started their relationship with friends with benefits, only 9% of them actually evolved into a relationship. They asked the students, what do you feel after a hookup? How many of you feel proud after a hookup? It was a grand total of 5%. How many of you feel desired and wanted after a hookup? Okay, 2%. We go back to that which we know is not satisfying. It's Vanity Fair had an article not long ago called Tinder and the Dawn of the Dating Apocalypse. It talked about how dating apps are actually not really helping dating as much as they're annihilating them. And one of the women said, she said, look, nowadays it is rare for a woman of our generation to meet a man who treats her like a priority instead of just an option. There's no dating, there's no relationships, they're rare. I mean, you can have a fling that can last 7 or 8 months and never actually call someone your boyfriend. Hooking up is a lot easier. No one gets hurt. Well, not on the surface. It's a contest to see who cares less. Guys win a lot caring less. Oh, but if you say any of this out loud, it's like, oh, you're weak. You're not independent. You missed the whole memo about third wave feminism. Under all of this is just this deep dissatisfaction. And my question is, like, has it always been this complicated? Has it really always been this hard to find lasting love? And the answer is no. I've got the proof right here on the rainbow stationery of an 82-year-old grandma who wrote a letter to me. And in this letter, she decided to tell me what it was like dating in the 1940s, okay? Get ready for this. She said, 1940s, she was a nursing student in San Diego, and she and all her girlfriends would have a Saturday evenings free with a 10:30 p.m. curfew. And every weekend, they would go on dances and dates with the Navy and Marine soldiers. We were constantly and happily dating young Navy and Marine men. In those days, chastity was a given. Most of us received many more than 1 or 2 marriage proposals. Going back to when I first started dating in 1940, by 1945, my own count was a 10. That's right. 10 marriage proposals in a span. I mean, isn't that what it's like at NAU? I mean, you try and get to class and guys like throwing engagement rings at you. Maybe not. And then it says, after graduating, we all got married. All of our marriages have lasted throughout our lifetimes. My friend just had her 60th wedding anniversary. We just had our 50th. And she said, after my 50th, my husband Mike was stricken with Alzheimer's disease. And after years of taking care of him at home, on February 13th, Mike passed away peacefully in my arms. Okay? Did you get this? This is a woman who had a date every single Saturday night with a man in uniform to go dancing. Now, this is real dancing. This is not dancing on the person. This is dancing with the person. Okay? Clarified terms here. Okay? She got a marriage proposal every 6 months for a span of half a decade, married the man of her dreams for more than 50 years, and on the eve of Valentine's Day, he enters into eternal life within her embrace. What planet did this woman live on? How on earth did we get here from here in a span of less than a century? But more importantly than how did we get here, how do we get back? Like, how do we get to this civilization of love when we seem so far from it? I think a key is what she said in there. It's not everything, but it's a key. She said in those days, Chastity was a given. It was taken for granted. Now, the word chastity today, most people don't know what that means. It's confused with celibacy or abstinence or some prudish, repressive, neurotic attitude towards sex. We don't know what the word means. I mean, when my wife and I were engaged, we got a phone call from the BBC. They wanted to do a documentary on our engagement because they heard that we were not living together or sleeping together. So apparently, news traveled to England that there's an American couple not cohabiting. So sent the cameras. So they filmed us going on a date in San Diego. They filmed me surfing with my groomsmen and her trying on her wedding dress. And they asked us all these questions. Why are you not having sex? Why are you not living together? And then they went to England, and then they mailed us the video after it had aired for all of the United Kingdom to watch. The show was called Anna in Wonderland. Okay? It's about the woman who interviewed us, Anna, who visits different bizarre cultures around the globe. And then she reports on their strange behavior back to England. As the credits were rolling, it said, join us next week when Anna visits a colony of vampires. So this week it's my wife and I, next week it's like Edward Cullen and Bella from Twilight. But I mean, this is a pretty fair snapshot of how bizarre the whole world thinks this whole chastity thing is. So if that's not what it is, then what is it? Well, chastity is a virtue, like courage or honesty, that applies to your sexuality. It does not eliminate your sexual desires, but orders them according to the demands of authentic human love. And what this does is it frees us to love. Because if I can't say no to my sexual desires, does my yes to them really mean anything at all? If I cannot have self-mastery over myself, as a husband, will I make love to a wife? Or will I use her body as an outlet for what I think of as my sexual needs? So it frees us to love. It also frees us to know if we're being loved. Perfect example. Speaking at a public high school in Texas, a girl came up after. She's dating this controlling, possessive, abusive older guy who treats her like garbage. I said, sweetheart, you deserve so much better. Break up with him. She said, I can't break up. I've given him everything. My virginity, my reputation, my friends. Can't let go of it all. I said, I understand it's hard, but look, just tell him no more sex. Watch what happens. She said, okay, I'll do that. She took her necklace off and gave it to me. She said, he makes me wear this. He's so possessive. I said, okay, I'll throw it away for you. And she left. 5 minutes later, she comes back, happy as can be. She said, I dumped him. I said, that was quick. She said, yeah, I told him no more sex. He slammed his locker shut. He threw a book at me. He said, where's your necklace? She said, I gave it to the chastity god. She just tested his love. Like, do you love me, do you want me, or do you only want the pleasure you're getting at my expense? And all of a sudden, this virtue of chastity liberated her to know if she was loved or simply being used. I was at Louisiana State University. A girl comes home on the date crying. Her mom's like, what happened? And she said, I got in the car with the guy, and as soon as I get in, he starts making all these little perverted jokes of what he wanted to do tonight. And I told him, no, I practice chastity. And he said, that's okay, there's lots of other stuff we can do, meaning everything but intercourse. She said, I don't think you understand. I respect my body, my future husband, my God. And he looked at her, and he said, so you mean I'm not going to get anything tonight? She said, no, you're not. He said, okay. He turned the car around, drove her home, dumped her off, and he left. And she has never seen him again, and thank God. Because she could have given it to him 4 years, wondering, does he love me? Is he in it for the right reason? She didn't play the game. Date number 1, and here's the bar. And if you're not man enough to do that, well then, hey, let's protect my heart. And so C.S. Lewis said something interesting on this. And he's speaking of a man here, but this could go both ways. He said, we use a most unfortunate idiom when we say of a lustful man prowling the street that he wants a woman. Strictly speaking, a woman is just what he does not want. He wants pleasure, for which a woman happens to be the necessary piece of apparatus. How much he cares about the woman as such can be gauged by his attitude to her 5 minutes after fruition, for one does not keep the carton after one has smoked the cigarettes. Now, Eros, desire, makes men really want, not just a woman, but one particular woman. In some mysterious but quite indisputable fashion, the lover desires the beloved herself and not the pleasure that she can give. Christopher West added to this, and he said, authentic sexual attraction is always the attraction to the beauty of the other as a person, not merely as an object of selfish consumption. This is the enormous value of the virtue of chastity. Because as I see it, what you win a person with is what you keep him with. If a woman wins a man with pleasure, well, she keeps him with pleasure. But the problem is, pleasure is repeatable. He can get it from another girl, he can get it off the internet, he can find it elsewhere. If you win him with your body, well, you keep him with your body. But here's the problem, every woman has a body. I can't even remember the last woman I met who did not have a body. Like, this is a repeatable asset of sorts. But if you win him with who you are as a human person, the relationship is more likely to last. This is not my pet theory. I saw this magazine, The Economist. It's not normally something I'd read. It's an international bi-weekly business journal. I saw it at the airport, and it said the science of sexual abstinence. So I picked it up, read the headlines, and I opened it up. Headlines: chastity before marriage may have its uses after all. Who knows? Check it out. Studied more than 2,000 married couples and asked them, in your relationship, when did you start having sex and how are things going? They found across the board the couples who waited longest to begin having intercourse, in particular those who waited until they were married, had better communication, better sex, were more satisfied with the relationship, and had a more stable relationship. Now, this is not a religious source. These are secular sources saying it just works. And so if it does, but how? Like, how do we implement this? Well, I think we have a generation of young college students who are essentially told growing up as Catholics or Christians, everything you're not supposed to do. You went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, Catholic youth group, and then you get to college, and the guy's like, okay, I got this down. I can't sleep with my girlfriend, I can't live with my girlfriend, I can't look at porn with my girlfriend, I can't have an abortion with my girlfriend, I can't clone my girlfriend, I learned that in bioethics class, okay, great. I know everything I'm not supposed to do with a woman. Okay, what am I supposed to do with a woman? Oh, sorry we didn't cover that. Good luck in life, kid. It isn't going to cut it. And so tonight, instead of harping on all the thou shalt nots, like, why don't we just dive into the how shalt? Like, what are we supposed to do to have lasting love? Not just the longevity, the quantity of the years, but the quality of them. How do we do that? And so my wife and I are just going to give like bullet points of how to do this. First thing I would say, enjoy the season of singleness in your life. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, Jason, I've enjoyed this season quite long enough, thank you very much. Like someone who lives in Antarctica, enjoy the season of winter, okay? Like, it's run its course enough already. Now what? Why am I telling you to savor what you just want to get over with? One reason I think is people are getting into relationships too quickly and too intensely. I've had girls tell me, Jason, I can't break up with my boyfriend. He told me if I ever broke up with him, he would die without me. It's like, honey, if he can't live without you, he doesn't need a girlfriend, he needs a therapist, okay? Like, this is a hostage situation, okay? This is not healthy. It's taken off too fast, and what happens is, like, especially with the girls, getting in too fast, and then like a month later, you finally realize what you got yourself into. It's like, uh-oh, I gotta fix this thing. And then you jump in, oh, he's cute, he smells nice, and then you date, and then 3 weeks into it, and she's already getting emotionally married to him, she's stalking him on social media, and then, you know, a month in, it hits her, boom, and she's like, ooh, I didn't know he flirts with other girls. I didn't know he looks at porn. I didn't know he drinks. I didn't know he builds a methamphetamine lab in the dorm with his friends on Wednesday. Sweetheart, that's the point. Take your time. And during this season of pure, graced friendship, get some serious answers to some very serious questions as a woman. Questions like, who is this guy? No, like, really, who is this guy? I know he's cute, he's charming or whatever, but what type of guys does he hang out with? That'll tell you almost everything you need to know about a man. What do his ex-girlfriends think about him? And how do those relationships end? Are they still friends? Or is it like some emotional divorce every single time it's over? Well, how does he treat girls he's not attracted to? Does he respect your morality? Or does he actually share your morality? Get some serious answers during this phase of friendship. Guys need to get them too. Questions like, well, who is this girl? Why am I so drawn to her? Is it because she's just so pretty? Like, what else is there? Like, do I admire her? Does she bring out the best in me? Can I see ourselves raising a family together? Is there more than attraction? What if every girl on this campus looked exactly like she looks? What is it about her that would have drawn me to her? You get answers to these serious questions, and you don't do it in a vacuum. You do it in the context of friends and family, where you're not going Lone Ranger. Oh, it's him and I against the whole world. No, Mom, Dad, what do you think about this stuff? You're tapping into the spiritual director, campus minister. You're discerning this because at the end of the day, the purpose of dating is to find a spouse. It is an act of serious marital discernment discernment. It's not because I'm bored and I'm lonely, everybody else has one. When you date, you're getting on a freeway. That freeway has 2 exits, and that's it. Breakup, marriage, that's it. Those are the only 2 possible outcomes. If that's the reality, what is the point of committing unless I can see myself with this person for good? But sometimes what happens is the girl starts making excuses when she gets too deep and she doesn't want to let go. And her girlfriend's like, can't you see he's got problems? She's like, look, I know he's got problems, and he's made some bad decisions, and he has a bad family, and he's a convicted felon and everything, and his friends call him El Chapo. He has a beautiful heart inside. No, don't do missionary dating. Girls do this stuff where you date your imagination. And part of this is your feminine genius. I think all of our strengths are our greatest weaknesses. And as a woman, one of your strengths is you can see the potential in others they might not even see within their own selves. But this gets you into trouble in dating relationships because you see everything he could become, but that he is not right now. And so you start dating who you thought he used to be or who you want him to become, and you make a project out of a person. It's kind of like one of those home makeover TV shows, where someone falls in love with his property even though it's all run down. And some girls are doing that, where they're dating a guy. If he was a house, he'd be like a dilapidated, haunted crack house in Detroit, and she's thinking, oh, we can put a swimming pool in there, and brand new curtains. It's like, no. You don't date someone hoping they will change. You date someone hoping they're going to stay the way they are forever, otherwise you're simply dating your imagination. Not only is that not fair to you, it's not even fair to them. But by focusing first on the season of a graced friendship, you build that foundation. John Paul II said this, when a man and a woman are united in true love, each one takes on the destiny, the future of the other as his or her own. And the greater the feeling of responsibility you have for your beloved, the more authentic love there is. The less responsible I feel for this person, the more it's simply egoism. Instead of I love you and I want what's best for you, it's I love me and I'm not that much concerned about you. But that foundation of friendship is not a passive delay of passion. This is the concrete and the rebar and the plumbing that goes underneath the skyscraper. You cannot build something majestic without it. And so you begin with that foundation. Point number 2, I would say, is if you really want love, don't look out there. The first place we're going to look is in here. Because the first place where I was looking, is that the one? Is she the one? Is he the one? Maybe that's the one. Oh, they're sitting next to me in mass. I can't wait for the sign of peace. And you're guilty, that's why you're laughing, right? We've all done this, and that's okay. It's fine, it's great. But we've got to understand, perfect love is not about finding a perfect person. It is about desiring to grow in perfection yourself so you can be the person the other one deserves for you to be. The project needs to be taking place in here. And so what this means is a very mature and sober assessment of your interior life. Is there junk going on in here, wounds going on in here, habits, addictions, vices going on in here that I know would be cancer to a marriage, but I just don't want to deal with it. This is big boy, big girl marriage preparation. Is there junk going on that I know I need to stare in the face? Everybody's different. Could be alcohol, could be this, could be that. For a lot of people, it's the vice of pornography. There's always this widespread myth, well, that's just a guy problem. Oh, girls struggle with modesty and emotional issues, but never porn. That's nonsense. I know girls struggled with it for years. She said, you know what? She said, when you're the guy who struggles with porn, they all know they're into it. It's like they're in this big prison together. Oh, we're all stuck in porn. One day we'll get out of here. But she said, when you're the girl who struggles, it feels like you're in prison, but it feels like you're each in your own cell, and you think you're the only woman in that entire building. But the reality is, lust is not a guy problem, it's a human problem. And if we can get rid of this junk, we can be free to love. And I grew up on this stuff. I mean, the first time I ever saw porn was like 2nd grade, riding our bikes around the neighborhood with a friend. I found this dirty magazine in the street. I'm like, what's that? I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. Like, what do we do with it? My friend said, let's keep it. I said, of course, where do we put it? He said, let's put it at your house. I said, that's a great idea. So, what are we going to do with it? I said, I know. So we ripped up our favorite pictures, crumpled them up, shoved them into balls, and put them into bushes in front of the house. So we'd come outside and look at them when we wanted. The problem is my dad trimmed the hedges Saturday afternoon, found porn growing on the plants out front. So I got busted by the porn plant. But you know, we we got back into it. Friends had it. And it basically started this addiction that lasted essentially toward the end of high school before I ever broke free. And I don't realize what it was doing me in the process. I was essentially getting porn goggles. Like, I didn't even know how to look at a woman except through this lens of lust, and I figured, well, I'm a guy. This is the way we view reality. You judge the woman by the degree of lust that you feel for her. If you don't feel a lot of lust for that girl, then why give her the time of day? It became more and more superficial through this stuff. And sometimes when guys get hooked on it and drags into marriage, I mean, the wounds that it causes. I was at a Catholic high school in the Midwest, all girls high school. A teacher wanted to bring into a classroom a bunch of Catholic college guys to show the girls how to practice their faith once they got to college. During this little panel discussion, it came up that one of these Catholic guys looks at porn. And in front of 30 high school girls, the teacher asked him, well, don't you think that that could present a problem in your marriage? And the guy was perplexed. He said, the porn? You know, why would that be a problem? He said, isn't that what a wife is for? Party foul. No. This is not what a wife is for. I mean, porn, marriage is not the fulfillment of porn. Porn is the distortion of human love. A woman wasn't created to be porn, but to be loved. And so with this stuff, we think, well, you know, how am I going to overcome my temptations? I mean, I got all these desires, I'm totally failing in chastity. A lot of people give up at chastity because they think that sexual desire is lust. And if you have sexual desires, you're constantly failing God. This is a huge misunderstanding that needs to be cleared up. I was speaking to college guys. Once there were a bunch of guys came up and like, look, Jason, here's the deal. They said, we're part of this thing called NET, National Evangelization Team. Yeah, NET is awesome. And they said, we travel around the country, we go through these retreats, and so it's like 4 college guys, 4 college girls, drive around this van doing all these conferences, you know, retreats and stuff. And he said, but Jason, honestly, here's the problem we're having. He said, the girls in our group, they're beautiful, they're smart, they're intelligent, they're funny, they have awesome personalities, and all of us are sexually attracted to them. And I said, okay, let me get this straight. You're spending the better part of a year in a small enclosed vehicle with 4 attractive college women, and you're finding yourself sexually attracted to them? They're like, yeah. I said, you should go to counseling for that. He's like, really? I'm like, no, you don't need to go to counseling. I'm like, come on, man, I'd be more worried about you if you weren't experiencing this, because God made them beautiful. It's not the fact that do you or do you not have desires. What do we do with these desires? Do you just stuff them? Do you just repress them? Or do you lift them up to God? And what does it look like? Here's a strategy that I came up with. When you see someone who you're tempted perhaps to lust after, whether a guy, girl, whatever, you know, here's a little strategy. You can make a little sign across on your forehead, nothing that anyone else would see, a little one, and let that remind you of 4 little things that you can do during that moment of temptation. Because you need to respond to that beauty. You can't just stuff, don't think about it, don't think about it. That's ridiculous advice. People say, well, bounce your eyes. If you see a tempting woman, bounce your eyes. Oh, okay, all right. Well, there's another bounce. Oh, no, you're going to get whiplash in today's culture. It's gotta be a deeper answer. And so what I would say is the beauty of the human body demands a response. It's an invitation of love. Eve's naked body from the beginning was an invitation to Adam to love her. But because of original sin, we see the body as an invitation to lust. But the primordial call to love through the revelation of the beauty of the body is still stamped in us. That's why we're so dissatisfied with this false gospel of just repress it, deny it, stuff it. It doesn't work with us. It doesn't resonate. Okay, so how do I respond to the beauty of her body if I'm, you know, seeing this billboard or some girl? Like, what do I do? Sign of the cross. First direction is up. But that means you take your attention up to God. Thank you. How about fighting temptation with gratitude? You can see her and pray Psalm 84 while looking at her. How lovely is your dwelling place, Lord mighty God. Now don't recite all of Psalm 84 while looking at her. That could get a bit much. But just the first line. Thank you, God. Just an act of gratitude. Thank you to God. Then the sign of the cross goes down inside yourself. Petition of contrition. God, I'm sorry for the times I have failed to look rightly upon my sisters in humanity, your daughters. So it's a moment of contrition for the times we failed to look. And then the cross goes in this direction. Intercession. Pray for her. I know a couple seminarians, when they're working out at the gym, and let's say some beautiful woman walks in, they have a set prayer that they do. They said, Jesus, thank you for making her beautiful. May she be holy as your mother, the Virgin Mary, was holy. Amen. And then back to the bench press. But you see that? They're responding to the beauty with love, transforming temptation into intercession. It's kind of like a spiritual Tai Chi. You know, it's kind of a martial art where you use your aggressor's aggression against them. And so the temptation comes, but you're turning it into an act of love, into an act of intercession. So first, thanksgiving, second, contrition, thirdly, intercession, and then fourthly, adoration, where the beauty is drawing our hearts back up to the source, which is God. And these 4 marks are actually the 4 forms of prayer listed in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. So we're taking a moment to take this temptation, turning it so that it not only leads her closer to heaven, but leads us that way as well. And so to me, this is a healthy way to respond to the beauty, because it demands a response, because the woman is the most beautiful thing God put on earth. Nothing gets close. I mean, what do guys get addicted to do on the internet? Looking at like flamingos or something, like, you know, waterfalls. Oh, my roommate caught me looking at sunsets on the internet again. Rainbows. It was a double rainbow. It was a triple rainbow. It was like nothing can close to the beauty of the woman. And so we've got to realize that this is not something that should be distracting us from heaven. I mean, on this campus, do you really have thousands of temptations to hell here? Or thousands of reminders of the beauty of heaven? We have to change the way, I think, that we look at this whole thing. Imagine if I had a diamond here and I shine a bright light on it, that it would glisten and glitter all over the ceiling. And I think those little, you know, specks of light are like the beauty here of creation. And all of them obtain their source in God itself. And so if we can remember where the beauty came from, every temptation can be turned into a moment of sanctity. So where you think you're losing God, we can actually discover Him the most. And I think one way that women can help men in this process is with the virtue of modesty. Now, I think women are rightly defensive about the topic of modesty, because for literally thousands of years, you have been blamed for the problem of lust. I mean, this is not something that happened with the whole Me Too thing. No, well, she was wearing this, or she was drunk, or she did that. It's kind of her fault. This has been going on for centuries. Well, I mean, you do have that body. I mean, that's kind of where it's coming from. Really? What is the cause of robbery? Is the cause of robbery the presence of jewelry in the window of the store, or the presence of greed in the heart of the robber? Jewelry does not cause robbery. Greed does. And so long as we're blaming the goods instead of the brokenness, we're missing that opportunity for redemption. But the point of modesty is not that your body is bad, but precisely because it's so good. And the point of modesty is to sufficiently conceal your sexual values. Not completely conceal, but only to sufficiently conceal them so that it does not eclipse the goodness of you as a human person. Because you have a sexual value and you have a personal value. The personal value is above the sexual. What lust is placing the sexual value of a person above their personal value. And what modesty seeks to do is simply put these things in the proper order. Androgyny is not the goal here. Well, just make everyone look the same and cover yourself from head to toe. It's a good thing to be a woman. And John Paul says, the more we grow in purity, get this, he says we come to an ever greater awareness of the gratuitous beauty of the male and female body. And this beauty becomes a light to our actions. Unpack what he's saying. The more pure you are, it's not the more you will ignore the human body. The more pure we become, the more we can see the glory of God in and through the human body. Now, this does not mean that we do not avoid the occasion of sin and have custody of the eyes. We need that. But God's redemption can go deeper. And you can see the invitation here isn't just to try to avoid the hookups, but to become possessors of a radiant purity. And so the second point is this. Look inside. Is there junk going on? Whether it's porn or this or that I need to root out. If I want to be the husband, the father, the mother, the wife that I know that I need to be, let's take a real deep look inside. Point 3 is this. Face your fears as a man and as a woman. And so what are the fears of a man? Ask a man. I'm like, I ain't afraid of nothing. I'm a man. I'm afraid of nothing. Men are afraid. You know what men are afraid of? Men are afraid of initiating a relationship because I might get rejected, or we might, and then commitment, something better might come along, and you know, if I give myself, then I might be losing myself. And So there's this false notion of freedom that culture has taught us as boys. Well, you don't want to get tied down, girlfriend. You don't want to get married, it's ball and chain. You don't want to have all those kids, oh, game over. It's this broken notion of freedom. I saw it on the internet. There's an article called Top 10 Reasons You Should Never Have Kids. Now, you know you've written a dumb article when if everyone agreed with you, humanity would cease to exist, okay? That's a bad article. But listen to this. If you have kids, a large part of your life will be focused on your relationship with your child rather than yourself. I hate to ruin my relationship with myself. We've gotten pretty close. It says, if you don't have kids, hey, you won't be exposed to germs your kids bring home from daycare. Microbes are easily transmitted and you get sick. Aches, pains, flu-like symptoms, and diarrhea. It's true. My kids bring home like Ebola in their lunchbox. Builds your immune system, get over it. If you don't have kids, you will spare yourself from back pain from lifting and carrying babies. Lifting a baby can tax your core muscles, lead to back pain and injuries over time. But apparently if you don't have kids, you'll never lift anything more than 12 pounds. It says, if you don't have kids, you can be alone anytime you want. If you don't have time to yourself, you'll end up losing yourself. Not having kids means you won't lose yourself. You can play tennis, do yoga, or whatever you want all the time. Now, what's so depressing about this, it is the perfect inversion of the church's teachings on human freedom. That man can only find himself through this fullest giving of himself. Give of ourselves, we will lose ourselves in the process, so you hold back, you don't commit. John Paul II was giving a retreat to college men as a bishop, and he said, we men are quite ready to take and conquer in terms of profit, enjoyment, gain, and success. But then the moment comes to give, and we hold back because we are not prepared to give. He said this is the result of the fact that we men do not have a deep enough interior life. Our prayer life, our interior life, he said is defective. It's lacking in depth. But if we can gain in that interior freedom, we can realize that no, I will not lose myself by giving myself to the seminary, giving myself to a girlfriend. This is the only way to find myself, through the sincere gift of myself. And so with men, we've been stamped into our body as you're the initiator of life-giving love. It's stamped into a man's body. We have this idea that with all the gender theory stuff floating around, well, men and women are essentially the same. And it's simply cultural conditioning and gender stereotypes that are outdated that make us believe that boys should be blue and girls should be pink, and we're really the same if you just condition them the same way. This is absolute nonsense. In fact, Hasbro, get this, the toy company wanted to make a gender-neutral playhouse, okay? That boys and girls could interact with and play with at the same time. And they did little trial experiments, and it didn't go as planned. They said that we soon discovered that the girls and the boys did not interact with the structure in the same way. They said the girls touched the dolls and put them to bed and fed them. They said the boys catapulted the toy baby carriage from the rooftop, okay? We're different, and that's quite okay. But part of what God made us in our difference is our anatomy. As a man, your body reveals who you are as a man. Your body also reveals your calling. You're the initiator of life-giving love. It's stamped into your body. But because of original sin, we're not initiating love. We're initiating lust, or we're initiating nothing. And we're just sitting in the dorms playing Fortnite till 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, look, we're supposed to initiate, love. And you'll see this even in the mainstream culture. There's a great beer commercial that came out. I know some of you might not be old enough to drink, so I don't want to contribute to the delinquency of minors, but it was a really good beer commercial. It was the old Dos Equis beer commercials. You know that old bearded Spaniard? It's this old grandpa guy, and he's always sitting with like his beautiful 20-year-old women who could be young enough to be his granddaughters, kind of creepy if you ask me. But in one of them, he's sitting like in a restaurant, surrounded by beautiful women, and he looks at the camera, and he says, it doesn't take 2 people to talk to 1 woman. And I was like, yes, you get it? He said, go, initiate, face that risk. When I was in college, the best homily I ever heard, priest gets up for 2,000 college students. He said, girls, raise your hand if a man on this campus asked you out on a date this week. Very few girls put their hands up. That priest spent the rest of the homily drilling into the guys for failing to initiate relationships. You should have seen the girls. They were like, hallelujah, Father! Preacher, can I have a witness? And like, they were like, and they were night, we loved him more because he smoked us out of our little holes and he just called a spade a spade. Go, initiate. I read one priest, he said, don't be an indecisive wimp hoping for an apparition. Trust in God and pop the question. We need that push. But what we need, I think, in this culture, guys, we need specifics. Okay, I want to do this, but how do I do it? Because we're fed as men in this culture nothing but generalities. Be a gentleman. Be a gentleman. What does that mean? Go ask a teenage, like guys, just so you girls know, we do not function well with general concepts, okay? We need specifics. Like my wife will say to me these general things, I don't know what she's talking about. She'll be like, honey, I could really use a little more help around the house. I'm like, house? Take out the trash. I'm like, okay, I can do that. We need specifics. College men are the same. We just give me some specifics and I can get going on this. And so, specifics, what does it look like? Perfect example. Boston University, there's a professor, who's now at BC, who was really kind of bothered by the fact that none of her college students were going on dates. Yeah, they were hooking up, and nobody was asking anybody on a date in broad daylight. So she said, you know what, I'm gonna put an end to this. I'm gonna give my students extra credit if they go on a date. And the student's like, oh, okay, well, what is this about? And she says, okay, she said, I want you to go on a date. And they're like, what is a date? And she says, okay, look, you have to ask them out in broad daylight. You can't hide behind an electronic device. And a date, don't make it long. 60, 90 minutes, that's it. No drinking, no sex, and just keep it simple. And the students were intrigued by this revolutionary concept. And one of them, this is a freshman, Frank DiMartino, he said, look, it's easy to hook up with someone you just met in a dark room after a few drinks, but asking someone out on a date in broad daylight when you actually have to know their name can be really scary. And he asked her, how would you ask someone on a date? Like the actual words? But you see what's going on? This poor guy said, dude, just give me the marching orders. Like, what am I supposed to do here? And so some specifics, I would say one, plan the date. Don't say, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Minecraft? I don't know. Like, plan the date. Put thought into it. And then when you get on the date, pick your seat for her. Not because you're going to tell her where to sit, but if it's a beautiful view, give her the view. If there's no view, the man takes the seat facing the wall, so she knows during dinner, your attention is on her, not on ESPN, or the cute little hostess walking by, and it makes her feel honored. You tell us young guys, oh, that's good, that's good. Specifics, okay. Here's another specific. Don't flirt with girls. Never flirt with a girl, because what's the dictionary definition of a flirt? Someone who pays amorous, romantic attention to someone without serious intentions. And so instead of being a flirt, you discern, is this the right girl, and is this the right time? You can't forget the time piece. Is this the right time for me to enter this relationship? Discern, then pursue her with sincerity and commit to her with clarity. Now, this is not a robotic formula. I've discerned I should pursue you. It's like, oh, it's Catholic stalker from the Newman Center. No, but the principles of discernment first. And I find guys are remarkably open to this. I was giving this talk at Michigan State. A guy came up afterwards, and he's all hyper. He's like, oh, hey, that was a great talk. He's like, do you have gum? I said, yes, I have gum. Pulled out a little piece of gum. He snatched it out of my hand. He's like, I'm going to ask her out right now. I'm like, go get her. I'm like, discern. Never mind, just ask her out. He was ready to go. And understand, in these remarks, I'm not saying that now the girl's job is just to be passive. No, this is a fault to be passive, I think, because some girls fall into this. Oh, well, he'll come to me one day. He'll come to me one day. He'll come to me one day. Ingrid, you're 97. Oh, I think it works for UPS, maybe. Like, girl, you gotta get out there. Get involved. Go meet good people. Go to good places. Go get involved in Newman Center, retreats, ministry kind of stuff. You gotta get yourself out there and not hide. And so the opposite of initiation is not passivity, but rather that active receptivity. And I think what shortcuts that often is the woman's fears. What is the woman afraid of? Well, kind of the opposite. She's afraid, well, you're not really worth pursuing. You're not worth the effort. You're not worth committing because you're just too much or you're just not enough. Because of this deep fear that you've basically had since you were 7, because of junk people said to you in grade school or middle school, you enter the world like, okay, I've got this dream of what love is supposed to look like, but then it doesn't show up. And now I'm 21, and it doesn't look like it's coming either. So I need to take matters into my own hands. At this point, we begin to grasp. We no longer trust the Father and His timing. We want to make things happen on our timetable. And so our friends may even coax us into this. Well, you gotta loosen up a little bit. Have an extra drink, cut loose a little bit. You'll be more likely to find some guys. Oh, true, you indeed will be more likely to find guys, because the lower you put the bar, the more people can come in. But you were not ever created for a bunch of people, you were created for one. That's why you want the standard as high as heaven. Only one can sneak through. And so the purpose of that standard is like a moat around a castle, protecting your heart, your body, your soul. But when the guy doesn't come along, and impatience sets in, she could settle. I did this with a guy, but then she justifies. Well, yeah, I did it with him, but it's not like we're not dating. I did it with him, but it's not like it's every weekend. Yeah, we did, but we didn't go all the way. Or we did go all the way, but it's not like it's happening all the time, and that's all their relationship is. We start justifying. But you'll notice, if you are doing something good, you will never justify it. It's not like you're feeding the homeless, at a soup kitchen. You're like, well, at least I'm not robbing a bank today. Your heart is at peace because your conscience, properly formed, is at rest. And so what happens, though, is we tend to justify, then a little bit of, despair, resignation, even numbness. One college girl emailed me and she said, you know what I feel like after these hookups? She said, I feel like the gross stuff in the road after the snow is melted and cars have been driving on it for a while. That's how she described the state of her heart after these hookups. And some girls will go even beyond this, where they say, well, look, I'm past that. I'm done being brokenhearted with boys. Look, if he doesn't text me after our little hookup, I'm not brokenhearted. I'm a big girl. I'm liberated. This is not liberation. This is numbness. This is a third-degree burn. First-degree burn, painful, blister, whatever. Second-degree burn. Third-degree, it's black. It's dead. You get stabbed with a pin. Wouldn't feel a thing. The nerve endings are shot. And this is the heart of so many sexual liberated people today who think that they're liberated because they're simply numb. So if we get there, where you basically have no boundary around the body, but an impenetrable fortress around our heart, how do we untangle this? How do we undo the knots? How do we start over when we think it's all gone because this has happened or that has happened? But the beauty of chastity is it doesn't really matter what happened last week or last year. What matters is what's going to happen today and tomorrow. And I'll prove that to you is my wife having come with me, so if you would give her a warm welcome. Come on up, Crystalina.
Completely kind of different angle than my husband here. And it's been a while since we spoke, so this is nice. It's kind of neat. Everyone asks themselves that, this I don't know, $1 million question, right? Well, what is love? What is love? How do I get it? How do I grasp it? How do I keep it? How do I know I have it, right? Well, at the age of 2, my father left our family. And I really looked up to my grandfather. But there was a lot of brokenness in my family, and I had 6 aunts and uncles, and they all ended up getting a divorce. They cheated on each other. It was just really a bad situation. And when my grandma, I believe she just turned like 53, my grandfather ended up leaving her for another woman. And it absolutely destroyed me. And in that moment, I realized love didn't last. It wasn't a forever thing, so it's just how it is. So I took this mentality into high school. And my first serious relationship, it came to the point where he said, well, girl, if you really love me, if you truly love me, you'll prove it to me. You'll show me just how much you love me, right? So I needed advice. So I went to my girlfriends. I said, well, he kind of wants to do this with me, he wants to do that. And they said, well, what's wrong with you? Everybody's doing it. You love him, right? And I thought, well, yeah, of course I love him. So at the age of 15, I lost my virginity, thinking it was going to cause this huge, great emotional bond between us with me on cloud 9 and so in love and together forever. And in all actuality, eventually it destroyed any love we might have had in that relationship, and all respect was just thrown out the window. And after a while, it seemed like he wasn't dating me anymore, he was basically dating my body. And when a person is being used, they know it. They know it in the depths of their being, and I knew it. And I just ignored it, I denied it, I just acted like it wasn't happening, but I knew exactly what was going on. After a while, we were constantly fighting, he was cheating on me, and we ended up breaking up and going our separate ways. I will never forget the day when he walked away from me for the very last time. And as he walked away from me, all I could think about was that guy's taking something with him that never belonged to him in the first place. But I can't get it back, right? What's the point? It's already gone. So there I was, just feeling broken and just destroyed and just stupid, too, at the same time. And I was in a cafeteria talking with my girlfriends, and I came to this conclusion, okay, well, if a guy could date me for about 6 months without sleeping with me, well then he must love me. Then I'll sleep with him. And I look back and I think now, wow, 6 months is the price that I put on my body. If he gives me just a little bit of that time, a little bit of that attention, that's the definition of love. And I carried this mentality all through high school. He was the first, but he wasn't the last, because sin took me further than I ever wanted to go or ever expected to go. And it started with little compromises, right? The little things that weren't that big of a deal. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Just look at her. Look what they're doing. Look what I saw him doing with her last night. I'm nothing. And I look back at that little, it's not that bad. That was the key that opened the door to hell in my life. It's not that bad. And I hear my kids say that. I'm like, no. It is that bad. Okay, don't say that. You know, but it matters, because when you have to justify sin, and you have to talk yourself into something, it's not that bad. It typically is, so don't do it. It's not worth what's going to end up happening, probably. And after a while of living this lifestyle, I started getting into partying, drinking, clubs, you name it, I was into it. And around the time, I thought it was a lot of fun, and it was very attractive. And I know what that's like. But I also know what it's like to wake up the next day when that party's over, when your friends are gone, and you're there by yourself. And I remember waking up thinking, oh, I can't believe I did that last night. I hope his friends, they don't say anything in the hallways of school. I'm like, what do I tell my mom? Oh, just constant worry, but never any peace. Now, after a while, my mother had an idea what was going on in my life, and she came up to me and she said, Crystalina, there's the chastity talk, and you're going. And I laughed at her. I'm like, what? I'm not going to go listen to some dork talk about sex things, but no thanks. She's like, you're going if you like it or not. And I thought, oh, I'm going to lose my car. I'm like, fine, okay, I'll go. And I thought, okay, I'll go there for 15 minutes, sit in the very back of the church, get what I need, little paperwork-wise, give it back to my mom, and then I'm out of there. I have a party to go to, I have friends to see. I don't have time for this. And in that 15 minutes that I thought I was going to sit there, God had changed my life. There was a guy who was very honest, blunt, and real. He talked about all of the girls, all of the sex, all of the partying, everything that he'd been into. You name it, and he did it. And I thought, well, what's the difference? And I felt like that guy, he had grabbed my hand out of the audience and he walked through my life. Like he could see the things I was most ashamed of and hiding. And I just watched in this awe. And he had this peace and this joy and this confidence that he carried about himself that I didn't see that in my friends. I didn't see that in the places I went to, and I definitely didn't see that in the guys I was dating. But he had one quality above all of them that I wanted more than anything. And it's that he wasn't ashamed of himself. And I sat in my seat trying to figure out one day that I hadn't been ashamed of myself, and I couldn't find one. A single day of just true peace and joy, not worried what I'd done prior that night, prior that weekend, always just this disgust inside, but never any peace. And I realized in that moment, I need to get my standards out of the gutter and raise them as high as I possibly could and start respecting my body for once and start respecting God. And I knew exactly what needed to happen. I needed to go to confession. No, but I really needed to go to confession. I used to look at confession like a torture chamber. Oh my gosh, I hate going there. But I would go to check it off because I've been a cradle Catholic all my life. And I would go to confession to appease my mom and pacify her so she'd get off my back. And I'd go in there and just blah, 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 blah. And I'd leave like, oh, it's done. And then she'd leave me alone. And then I would go to school, and on the weekends, I would be such a hypocrite and this two-faced. Like, I had all these masks. But I was so disgusted and broken inside of myself that it was even hard to look at myself in the mirror. I remember saying, like, who are you? How did you get here? Just, I couldn't stand it after a while. And I knew the first point was confession. And I remember writing down everything that I had done on a legal size, at front and back. It came to 4 pages. And I knew I had to take that to the confessional with me. But this time, if I was going to do it, I was really going to do it, right? And I went in there, and when I came out of there, it was just like, whoa. Why didn't I do this sooner? What was I thinking? It was amazing. And like 2 years ago, a priest told me, confession actually is a mini exorcism. I'm like, no, I get it. I get that. You know, after I came out of there, the heaviness and the darkness, it was lifted. It was amazing. And that's what I avoided. I also went home and I wrote down everything that I had done, which was a lot, and it was really overwhelming. But then I wrote down everything this guy had said to me, everything that has happened, and I put it in an envelope and I put it in my bedroom because I knew that weekend that temptation was going to be there. And sure enough, that weekend, there were those guys, there were my friends, there were those parties, and I ran to that letter. And it was a very harsh reminder what was there waiting for me, and I didn't do it again. Instead, I wrote another letter, and every single time I was tempted, I'd go back to my old letters and I would write a new one. So now I had this huge stack of letters of all of the no's that I said in my life. Now, Jason here waited 26 years for his future bride. I can't stand here and say on those Friday nights that I was out partying and I held myself back for a little bit. I didn't. But after I turned my life around, in the end, I have this huge stack of letters of all of the no's that I said in my life. That I did start thinking of him. I did start waiting for him. I did start respecting my body and loving him before I met him. Now, after I did that, and I just started to change everything in my life, it wasn't easy because I was used to living one way. I had a set of friends, I had a set of clothes. It was kind of hard at first, and you have your feet in both worlds, and it was hard navigating through that. And I remember my friends, they just didn't get it. They just didn't get it. They said, well, what are you too good for us now? What's your problem? What are you not good enough for you now? And constantly on me, and I got sick of it. And I went home and I told someone what was going on. And the best advice they could give me was, oh, don't worry about it, you're doing the right thing. Well, I tell you today, if anyone makes fun of you for living out a lifestyle of chastity, of purity, of respecting your bodies, and you get made fun of for that, you remember it. You remember every single word they say to you. Go home, make a book of it, write it all down. Because when you stand on that altar, if that's what you're called to marriage, and you stand in front of your bride, when you stand in front of your husband, you tell me, where is the laughter? Where is the mockery? Who will be making fun of you then? Nobody. There will be complete silence in that church on that day, and any of those people that made fun of you pay $1 million to be in your shoes. And when you stand there, you say, oh, honor you, cherish you all the days of my life. Well, today is the day of your life. Today's the day of my life. And this college that you're in right now, life's going to go way and far beyond that. And even in the high school I went to, there were 3,000 people that were there, and I don't know a single person. So you may suffer now, it may be difficult now, but it's worth it in the end. And even when I was back living that lifestyle, I look back on that. And I look back on this moment because my friends would always say, oh, it's all fun and games, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Well, what wasn't the big deal? My body, my dignity, my self-respect? It was. And I didn't know how to change. I didn't know what to do back then. It was so hard because I felt so broken and so wounded and so disgusted in my own skin because I knew what I had done. And I look back on that time in my life, and after I had my conversion and I went through all of this, and I said I had my feet in both worlds, one night I went to a party, right? Because I still wasn't sure what I wanted, like, how do I do this? And did typically normal things you do at a party, right? But I never get back into those sexual sins. God really gave me that grace. And I went to this party, and after a while, I was just kind of disgusted. Like, even the environment grossed me out. And I remember just saying, you know what, just sit down. Just go sit down and take a minute. And I went and I sat down, and I just watched. And it was unbelievable to me, what I was seeing. Because when you're partaking in this, you're not realizing like really what's going on, right? And the more you drink or whatever it is you're doing at the party, you're not paying attention. And I just sat there and I watched. And it was unbelievable as the night progressed, the things that were happening. This guy's doing this, this girl's doing this, and these people started becoming, some people who I knew who they were, I didn't recognize them after a while. And it was unbelievable. And then I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. And every night when I drove home, right by my house was a perpetual adoration chapel. And I pulled in there, and it was crazy. I'm like, what are you doing? Why am I here? And I started having this conversation with myself, right? And I'm like, you gotta go in. You gotta go in. And I'm like, I can't go in there like this. I smell like that party. I knew what I was doing. And I got the gumption, and I went into this perpetual adoration chapel. And I had my head down, and I finally just looked up at Jesus in the Eucharist. And I said, here I am. Here I am in all of my filth. Please help me. So I freaked out, and I got out of there as fast as I could. And as I got out of there, I'm like, stupid girl, what were you thinking, right? But I look back on that moment, and it was huge. Because I realized that I was telling this lie to myself. That God doesn't really want me. I mean, he wants me, everybody says he wants me, right? But he doesn't really want me like this. He doesn't want me until I'm good and I'm pure and I'm holy and I'm saint-like. That's when God's gonna love me. That's when he's gonna shower me with graces and the peace and everything I long for. That's what, I'm not deserving of that now. But I realized in that moment that Jesus wants each and every one of us right now exactly where we are at. And he wanted me exactly where I was in my woundedness, in my brokenness, in my filth and my sin. That's where he wanted to be, right there with me, because he was the only one who could get me out of that lifestyle. My mother and so many people that love me wanted to get me out of that lifestyle. They tried everything, and nothing worked. Nothing could penetrate the darkness that I was in. Only God could. And it was when I asked for his help, I asked for his grace, I went to confession, I was able to turn my life around and start over. And it doesn't always have to be the sin, the sexual sins. It can be anything in your life that you keep this barrier between you and God. I don't care if you have a drug addiction, you're anorexic, you cut, you're an abusive person, or you're in an abusive relationship. Maybe you were raped, maybe you had an abortion. All of it, none of it matters. And that giant is nothing compared to the mercy that God has for you. Nothing is bigger than him. But you have to go to him. You have to give him everything, even your sin. Because he knows your sin. I tried to hide it from everybody. My friends, my boyfriend, my mother, just trying to be these different people, always hiding, never any peace. Even trying to hide from my cell phone sometimes, just numbing myself. But you can't do that with God. He knows your sin, but he knows your virtue. He knows what you're capable of. He knows what he created you for. You are not here tonight by chance. You got an invitation. He is speaking to you right there in your chair individually. Because each and every one of you here tonight, if you were forced or whatever, you had nowhere else to go, you wanted dinner, I don't know. But you're here. And it is not by chance. You said yes. Because he's calling you deeper, the invitation, deeper, for a reason. You were created for a specific purpose, a specific plan. And it is not just like, oh, God created you for something special. No, he created you for great things, serious things that need to be done right now. He did not create you for this moment in time to be mediocre and lukewarm. This is the time. All of you right now need to step up, rise up, and all the petty little things and all this dating and nonsense and everything that you get dragged into. Like, I'm dating him, but no, I actually, we're kind of dating. Actually, I don't know what I am to him. I don't know what I am to her, but you know what? Hopefully, you're more than that. And you have a purpose, and I mean a great one. But we sell ourselves short because we feel unworthy and not enough. And I lived most of my life feeling not enough for anyone. What is enough? Enough for who? After I ended up meeting Jason, we started doing ministry, and we ended up getting married. And after we got married, I really thought to myself, oh, I'm starting this unbelievable new life, and just past the past. It was just amazing. And after a while of being married, I think I had three kids at that point, and something wasn't right. Something was wrong with me. I was just angry all the time. I was just I wasn't myself. I didn't know what was going on. God had blessed me with so much in my life, and I'm like, what could possibly be wrong? And I would go to adoration and just talk to God, like, what's happening to me? And I didn't understand. And I remember being in the kitchen, and the house is crazy. You got the kids, and I'm doing dishes, and I just start crying because I don't know what's happening. And I have my gloves on, you know. And Jason comes from behind me, wraps his arms around me, and he's like, "It's okay, honey. You're under construction right now." I'm just like, thank you. It was just awesome. He was such a guy. I think thank you was out of love, you know. And I'll never forget that moment. It was just awesome. But yeah. So, and the thing is, it was the absolute truth. God had me under construction because he's like, you gotta go deeper. You gotta listen. You gotta be obedient to what I'm asking. And in adoration, I knew he was asking me to go to counseling. You need to go to counseling. And I was like, no, I'm not broken. Nothing's wrong with me mentally. I'm okay, because when you feel like you have to go to counseling, you say counselor or psychologist, like, oh my gosh, something's wrong with that person, something's like off. And I didn't want to go, and it was really humiliating and humbling for me. And I'm like, okay, God, it's like, you've gone as far as you can on your own, you have to go to counseling. We'll do it together. And so, okay, I went to counseling. It was like a 3-year serious healing process for me, and within counseling, it was revealed to me, because I had shoved it so deep, so far, that I was sexually abused by family members when I was little. And in that moment, it was so much, and I felt like so much crumbled around me. But in that moment, I made so much sense to myself for the first time in my entire life. I made sense to me, because it made sense why I sexualized my anger in high school, why it was hard for me to give love, receive love, why I did certain things, why I felt like never enough, why so much just, boom, the puzzle connected, finally. And from that moment on, I was able to just go through my healing process and come out on the other end. And I was so ashamed and just heavy and But when God asks you to do something, because I know tonight each one of you is being asked to do something, to get rid of something, to break up with someone, to whatever it is. Each of you know, right? And it was so hard, and it was scary. And God's not asking you to just, he'll ask one thing, but he'll be right there with you, and he will give you every single thing you need. No matter how big, no matter the obstacles, no matter the giants or people against you, he will give you everything and pave the way. It doesn't matter. And I was so ashamed and broken, and I can stand here and say, I'm not ashamed. I am not ashamed of what happened to me. And I pray for those people. But I couldn't have gotten where I am and become a strong, whole woman of God if I didn't go through that. There's a purpose and a plan, and it matters, and it's important. There are 4 things that I did during my healing process, and if something is happening or you've got something in your life right now, you have the time, and maybe you're in a dating relationship, maybe you're not, but before you get married, you have got to go to counseling and get healed now. Now is the time. So silly, and I lied to myself thinking, I'm gonna leave my baggage outside, and it's gonna stay there, and I'm just gonna start new. To a certain extent, I did start new, but it follows you, it bubbles, and then it will erupt on your husband, your kids, you name it. You cannot hide and run from it. And there was a woman, 75 years old, that emailed me, and she heard my testimony, and she said, thank you. I'm 75, and my father raped me until I was 18, and I got to leave the house. And I never dealt with it because I was so scared. And she said, thank you. I finally have the courage to do it. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But then I thought, oh, how sad. 75 years of wounds and secrets and just being in bondage. And imagine what God wanted to do with this woman and the opportunities that she just couldn't do because it's like you're handicapped. And you start operating out of that wound, you start associating with it, and you don't even realize it. And until you deal with it, until you heal, you're gonna always be there, just this handicap, and it's not worth it. And the devil is happy to keep you handicapped as long as physically possible, trust me. Because God has an agenda for your life, but so does the devil. One is life-giving, and one is just death, and it is entirely up to you. And you have to show up to your own fight because nobody else will. And you have to take the matters of your heart seriously because nobody else will. This is your battle, your fight, and you answer at the end, nobody else. You answer to God, and everyone's gonna have opinions and things, but when God is asking you in your heart to do something, your conscience, I tell my kids, that right there, that's your compass to heaven. You've gotta listen. You've gotta listen. Because I have never regretted listening, right? But hands down, every single time I ignored, I always had regrets, and you always will. It is the compass, and it matters. It's the eye in the storm, and no matter what God is asking you to do, be obedient. Jesus dying on the cross, He saved us there on that cross. But I really believe it was Jesus' obedience to die on that cross that saved us. Your obedience is everything. And that's what's so hard. But if you can do this, you can listen, you answer to Jesus, you answer to God. Other people have opinions, who cares? God matters. If you want to heal and you want to go through this process, first go to confession. Go to confession, really go, and keep yourself in there and be accountable. Find a good priest that you can be accountable. And I know it's easy to church hop, but when you find that priest that you can be accountable for, you can get spiritual direction, and you may need some spiritual healing from past experiences, you never know. So find that good priest. Next, find a good counselor. Where do you find one? If you go to my website, Women Made New, guys out there, I know it's Women Made New, but if you go just to the healing section, you can just pull up counselors. There is a list of good places that you can find good Catholic counselors, and you just literally put your zip code in and it'll pull up all of them up. They're right there for you. And honestly, if you go to a counselor you don't like, that's okay. They're there for you. If you don't mesh with them, forget it. Get another one. God will take care of it. But this is about you, not them. So get a counselor. The next thing is go to adoration. He's right there. He's not going anywhere. Take everything. I take everything in there, and I always have. I would go to counseling, and I would go to Jesus, and I would bawl. I would give everything to Him, and I still do to this day. I gave all of you to Him in there before I came out here. He can handle, He can do, and He will give you everything you need to be that warrior He is calling you right now to be. Right now. There's a purpose and a plan, I promise. But you have to have the courage to say yes. And give everything to Him. Go to adoration. The last thing, this is a hard one. There are toxic people in your lives right now that should not be there. And every one of you can think of them right now in your head if they're there. If that is the case, if you're going to go through a time of healing, if you're going to do this, and you really want to heal and become that man or that woman of God that He's calling you to be, you take this time right now, you be selfish with this time right now. And you need to cut those people off. there's so many people in my life I just had to cut off, and it was hard, but it was about me. I made it about me. Like, I need to go through this process right now, and this isn't you, but this is about me. And then if God wanted, I knew He would let me know if those people were supposed to be in my life, and if they weren't, and some came back in, and some will stay on the other side forever, and I pray for them. But that's okay, and you will be better for it. You will be better for it. But also try to replace that with good people, and maybe a small handful of people that you can tell what's going on with you so that they can support you, because you need that too. There is no shame in being healed and going through a healing process, because in the end, you won't have that handicap anymore. You won't operate out of that womb. The devil cannot follow you into the light, and he has got to go. But have the courage and strength to face whatever it is God is calling you, because tonight, ladies and gentlemen, this is an invitation. And I want you to imagine right now, when that man got up, that young man in his courage, that penetrated that darkness no one could. Imagine if I said, oh, that's cute, that's fun, maybe in a month, I don't know, it's too hard right now, no. What if I would have said that? I know I wouldn't be standing here talking with you. I know I never would have met Jason. Oh, I probably would have met him, but he probably would have counseled me, not marry me, that situation. I know our 9 children would not have come into existence. We have 7 and 2 babies in heaven that watch over and pray for us. And I know half the lives that God has been able to change through Jason and I's ministry wouldn't have happened if I did not say yes. Your decisions right now, what you do, it matters. And I told myself in high school, oh, Jason's my future husband, oh, if I even get married, we're gonna laugh about this. We're probably out doing the same things. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. We tell ourselves that, right? It's not that bad. It doesn't matter. It matters greatly. Your actions hold weight, and you take that weight to the future with you. If you want to agree with that or not, it's the truth. Let tonight, when you walk out that door, you walk into that chapel in front of your Creator, let tonight just be a little different in your life. Put your fears aside, put your own selfish wants and needs, and genuinely just say, God, what do you want of me? It can be scary, but you know what? It will be worth it. And I had some other things I was going to come up here and say, and you know what? I always just let God and the Holy Spirit do its thing. And it doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done, or what has happened to you. All that matters right here and now is where you go from here. I want each and every one of you to know, there's some of you over, but some of you won't. I will take every single one of you into adoration with me every single time I go there. And I will place you on the altar every time I go to Mass. And no, you are not alone. And you will never be alone, because you have someone who is praying for you. And God willing, we'll see you in heaven one day if I make it there. So we'll see. But God bless you. I'm praying for you. And just keep us in your prayers, please.
She's a fireball. Yeah, she brings her A game. But one of the things that Crystal had mentioned during her talk is like, if you do find yourself in a relationship and you're not even sure if it's a relationship, what do we do with this? And the first couple points I'd mentioned are kind of before the relationship. I want to kind of look at, okay, now we're getting into the relationship. Where do we go from here? We start getting into a relationship. What's it supposed to look like? Point number 4, I would say what we need to do is make commitment clear. I have a theory that we have a culture right now of single people who act like they're dating. We have a culture of dating people who behave like they're married. And as a result, we have a culture of married people who seem to think they're single, right? And everything is out of order. And when I ask girls, like, are you dating? What I find is like a third of the girls are dating, a third are not dating, the other third, they don't even know if they are dating or not dating. And I'll be like, well, are you guys dating? Well, we went on a date, but we're not dating, but we are seeing each other, but it's not official. So technically we're not boyfriend and girlfriend because he hasn't changed his status on Facebook, and so it's kind of complicated, but we're definitely a thing. Okay, what's a thing? The thing is like a bunion on your foot. Like that's the thing. Like, think of the book. I want to be more, but I don't know what he's thinking. Why don't you know what he's thinking? Well, he's not really talking. Why isn't he talking? Well, men aren't great communicators to begin with. It's not really our fault. It's God's fault. And it's true. Like, you probably heard it's like women speak 3 times as many words as guys do per day. It's 20,000 versus about 7,000. National Geographic did a study of unborn embryos. They found female unborn embryos, about 6 weeks of gestation, the mouth begins to move. Male embryo, nothing is happening. And so, what's happening in these dating relationships is the girl's sitting around like, well, are we official or are we not? And he's not talking. Why isn't he talking? He's probably not even thinking to begin with. In fact, neurologists apparently did a study of the brain. They found the female brain, I guess, has an extremely high level of neurological activity 24 hours a day. Even when she's sleeping. They found that the male brain will actually go into states of hibernation, okay? While he's awake. Okay? Come on. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Each time you looked at him, he's there, but he's gone. Like, honey, what are you thinking about? Like, what? Nothing. No, you can't be thinking nothing. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about nothingness right now. That's impossible. What are you not telling me? Now she's suspicious. I'm not going to tell you nothing. Like, what are you feeling right now? I'm hungry, that's a feeling. It's like, what's happening is he's not talking, he's not thinking, and so she's left thinking, man, what do I need to do to get this boy more interested and committed to me? Maybe I'll offer him what he's least likely to reject, namely the physical. Maybe I'll send him some pictures. What do I need to do to draw this boy in? But this backfires. And so the basic premise is if you're a friend, quit acting like you're his girlfriend. If you're his girlfriend, quit behaving like his bride. And if you're his wife, be his wife. Same goes for the male. And so we've got to just put these things back into the proper categories, and I think it simplifies our life a lot. And so what does this look like in a relationship? Point number 5 is keep this relationship truly pure. I think we all, when we get to college, start to make new justifications. Well, I'm not 13 years old anymore. It's not like I met her last week. We've been dating for 6 months. We can do this now. We're all grown up. We're going to get married anyway. She's the one. And I'll say the day that I knew that I had met the one, I mean, I could see myself with this girl forever, and it didn't end up working out because she ended up going to a different 3rd grade than I did, and I never saw her after that 2nd grade summer. And then, grew up a little bit, met a girl in high school, knew she was the one. It didn't work out, and she married a friend of mine. That's fine. And then, I got to college, and I met a girl, we dated for 6 months, we knew we were meant to be, and it didn't work out, and she married a friend of mine. And then, I met another girl at college, we dated for 2 years, we tried on wedding rings, our parents loved each other, it didn't work out, she married a friend of mine, and then I dated another girl when I was getting my master's degree, we knew we were meant to be, loved it, it didn't work out, she married a friend of mine, and then I met Crystalina when I was 24, and by then my friends had always all married my ex-girlfriends, so she had no option to stay with me, and so I got married. The moral of the story being, like, you could never have convinced me with any of these girls that she was not the one. Because I thought the intensity of my emotions was an indication of destiny. And by virtue of the fact that I've never felt such a genuine feeling with another before, I therefore concluded that my sin is justified. As if the duration of our relationship is somehow a license to sin. Well, because we've been together X long, now we can almost behave like we're married. And the day it kind of smacked me in the face is, I went to one of their weddings, because we're still friends, and I remember being in the back of the church, and they said, we want to meet for the first time, Mr. and Mrs., and we're all clapping. Here comes down, walking down the aisle, my ex-girlfriend with my friend. I'm all happy for him, but then it hits me like, whoa, I've done this with that guy's wife. I've done that with that guy's wife. No matter how much I knew we were meant to be, she was never mine. She had always been his. And so it just kind of punched me in the gut, like I gotta quit behaving like I'm God, and that I know the future. And that I shouldn't behave like I'm a husband when I'm just a hopeful boyfriend. And this is going to require a death of sorts in us. I mean, some sacrifice has to happen. One guy came and he said, look, I would die. He said, look, I'm having sex with my girlfriend and everything, but I love her. He said, I would die for her. Really? He said, oh yeah, man, if someone put a gun to her head, I would tell that person to shoot me instead. I'm like, you'd really take a bullet for your girlfriend? He said, absolutely. I said, if you would die for her, then do it. He said, what do you mean? I said, look, nobody's going to be shooting a girlfriend unless she's involved in organized crime or some Mexican drug cartel. You know, in which case you need to make better dating decisions. But look, you don't have to protect her from the mafia, okay? Like, you got to protect her from lust. You have to protect her from yourself. That's the death that has to die. Because we want to look like a knight, but we don't want to bleed like one. And here is where Christ says, come and die. You must take up your cross and follow me. And as a sacrifice, but I've found, honestly, just man, the best preparation for sexual intimacy within marriage was chastity leading up to marriage. And you think, well, why Jason, would like 20-something years of abstinence prepare you for sexual intimacy in marriage? Because it taught me that abstinence is an expression of love. It is not a passive delay of passion. Because as a boyfriend, I am, by chastity tonight, I am expressing love to her in a greater way than making love, by doing what's best for her instead of just simply what feels good in the moment. And having that skill, abstinence is an expression of love. This is such a huge asset for a man to know before marriage. Because a friend of mine, he was married many years. She, when she was a little girl, had been sexually abused. Long into the marriage, the wounds started coming up. Marriage was doing what it was supposed to do. Sanctify the spouses. The healing came up. And she told him, honey, because of these flashbacks I'm having, I can't be physically close to you in that way right now. I need to have a time of healing. And her husband, friend of mine, good man, honey, I totally understand. I can respect that. I can love you in other ways than physical. And it was so great for her to hear that from him. But then a month went by of abstinence in marriage. Okay, that happens. And then 2 months went by, and then it was 3, 4, 5, 6 months of abstinence in marriage. At which time he really started to wrestle with God over this. He's like, God, like Jesus, I didn't sign up for this. And Jesus was like, actually you did. I mean, good times, bad, sickness and health, it's kind of this now. But he felt so unmasculine, because his concept of masculinity growing up is that a woman will be sexually responsive to me. And the fact that his wife was so frigid and distant to him in the bedroom made him feel like such less of a man. But he realized by staying on this cross of the sacrifice, he was more a man to her than any man had ever been in her life. And not only did God heal his wounded notion of masculinity through this sacrifice, he healed his bride in the process. But imagine if he didn't have that self-mastery, and he started demanding things of his wife, thinking, well, this is my right as your husband. His wound would have only infected hers. But because he knew that abstinence could be an expression of love, taking on these wounds became a source of healing to his own bride. But you learn through chastity that abstinence can be this expression of love. It trains us in faithfulness. Because if I can't say no to those desires before marriage, how will I say no to them within marriage? And so some people are like, but I don't understand. I mean, sex in marriage good, sex out of marriage bad, in good, out bad. Like, well, what's really the difference? The difference is that within marriage, our bodies speak the truth. That the bodies speak a language in sex of the wedding vows. I give myself to you completely, freely, totally, faithfully, in a way that's open to life. And that's what you say on the altar. Then you go to the sanctuary of your bedroom and you speak the wedding vows in the flesh. And that's why if I were to have an affair with my wife, I'm lying with my body. If I'm sleeping with a woman who is not my bride, I'm speaking a lie in the language of the body. The church's teachings on sex are just simple. It's that love, marriage, sex, and babies go together and in that order. And once we start flipping things around and moving around, civilization itself begins to crumble. And so the church is simply asking us sexual honesty. That the total gift of the body should correspond with the total gift of the person. But the beauty of chastity is it doesn't matter what happened last month. All that matters is where we want to go from here. And so now we're going deeper into the relationship. The sixth point I would say in marriage prep is do not live together before you get married. People think, oh, I gotta find out if we're compatible with each other. That's easy. Are you a guy? Yeah. Is she a girl? Okay, you're not compatible, okay? It's easy. I figured that out after 1 week of marriage, all right? I know a priest, he and his fellow priest stayed up late at night discussing this. Why do some marriages last and others don't? Because some couples come through marriage prep, we think they got no chance. They have this wonderful marriage. This other couple comes through, we think they got it all together, they're divorced in 2 years. What is the it factor? What is it that those couples have that those marriages last? They talk late into the night of all their pastoral experience. Do you know what their answer was at the end of the night? Was that the marriages that last are the couples that are willing to fight for their marriage when things get tough. That's what makes it last. Because compatibility, think about it. Where's the word compatible come from? Latin. It comes from compati, which means to suffer with, okay? Lasting marriages aren't you fit perfectly. It's just because you fight for your marriage when things get tough. And so, point number 6, to wrap it up. Within marriage, chastity continues. Abstinence is just the absence of sex. Chastity is the use of sex according to God's plan. What's chastity in marriage? One thing involved is how you plan your family. Do not use contraception within marriage or before marriage. And some people are like, oh, wait a minute, what's the church want us to have? Like 15 kids, 20 kids, be the next Duggars, have a reality show? And what's the church seriously want? Us to use the calendar rhythm method? That had a failure rate of 30%. I'm a fan of that, because my parents tried it, it didn't work. I'm here, so that's a good deal for me. But if I want to plan our family, we use what's called natural family planning. NFP, and this is according to the, let's see, the British Medical Journal here, is more than 99% effective. Unfortunately, most couples don't know a lot about NFP. And so, in fact, I even talked to engaged couples in San Diego. Diocese gives them the survey, see what they know about NFP. They asked a 26-year-old woman, in one sentence, define natural family planning. She said, oh, that's a way to have sex that meets church requirements. Now, doesn't that sound like fun? But it's literally all she knew. Oh, it's that Vatican roulette thing. Oh yeah, like a bunch of celibates in Rome could know anything about marital love. I mean, come on, dude. This arrogant idea that celibates can't know anything about love is just, it's just nonsense. I mean, think about it. I'm a married man, okay? I know one woman, it's pretty much it. And she'd probably argue, I don't even know her that well. I mean, she even said to me once, she's like, Jason, you know, you're not a very good listener. And I said, honey, I'm a motivational speaker, not a motivational listener. Now, she didn't think that was very funny, but I thought it was rather witty on my part. But know one imperfectly. Come on, priest isn't confined to one. He's hearing thousands of their confessions of things they might not even say to their spouse. Look at the day of the life of a priest. He could regenerate a soul to eternal life through baptism at 8 o'clock in the morning. Hear somebody's confession at noon who's been away from the church for 40 years. Celebrate a marriage at 3, bury someone at 6 in the afternoon, and at 1 in the morning be by the bedside of someone passing into eternal life in one day. The prism through which they view the lens of human love. Through 2,000 years of the wisdom of the saints, to throw it away because they're celibate would leave us impoverished. And so what NFP taught me is my wife's body is perfect. She doesn't need drugs, she doesn't need barriers, she doesn't need pills, she doesn't need shots, she doesn't need implants. You know what she needs is to be understood. Because instead of suppressing her fertility with chemicals to conform to our desires, we just conform our desires to the perfect way her body has already been created. This is authentic sexual liberation. Fertility is not a disease, it is a gift. There's wisdom in the church. Why do you think couples who use NFP have a divorce rate under 4%? The church is onto something. It's not all because of NFP, but that spirit of openness to children as the supreme gift of marriage. Now, with everything that we have dumped on you tonight, it's a lot. Where do you go with all this stuff? First and foremost, I would say fellowship. Get plugged in here at the Newman Center if you're not already. You can't do this alone. In college, I mean, think, who is St. Francis Xavier's roommate in college? St. Ignatius of Loyola. Now that kind of helps, doesn't it? Now you might be thinking, my roommate's not getting canonized anytime soon. You're probably right, but seek out that fellowship. Fellowship here on campus. Fellowship with your families back home. Don't get severed from family life because they're 3,000 miles away or whatever. Make sure to connect with your family, maybe a little more than you think you need to. I remember when I was leaving for college, like a month before, my dad was like, just so you understand, your mom's going to be a little emotional as you get ready to go off to college. And I'm like, why? That's kind of weird, whatever. You know, and she kind of have little breakdowns here or there, and I'm like, she seems overly attached to me or something. I don't know. You know, and I went off to college, it's like, wow, brand new life, I'm traveling Europe with my friends. Like, I just almost forgot that they existed at some point. And we've got to be conscious that, like, there are allies when it comes to love. And so we want to make sure to tap into them. So, connection with friends, family, fellowship, and as Crystal said, the sacrament of reconciliation. Go at least once a month to confession. Some people are like, I don't want to go to confession. What if I tell the priest what I did? I mean, you did not invent a sin. He's not going to call the Vatican. I've never heard of this before, Pope Francis. Pope Francis wouldn't care. He'd be like, no hablo inglés. One of my best confessions. I was in college, I'd done a bunch of stupid stuff, and there was a priest in the confessional from France. I thought, sweet, he's from France, I'll never see him again, which was a bad attitude, but I was where I was at, and I did end up seeing him again. But I went and I just spilled it all out. And he says to me, he says, Jason, for your penance, I want you to tell Jesus he has a problem. I did what? He said, I want you to tell Jesus he has a problem. I said, you want me, get this, to tell Jesus he has a problem? And he says, yes, oui, yes, all. And I'm like, I don't understand. He and said, look, do you belong to Jesus? Yes, I belong to Jesus. And he says, well, Jesus has you. You are a big mess. If he has you, have patience with the whole world, which is first of all with yourself. I mean, one priest told me, look, God knows your sins, but he calls you by your name. The devil knows your name, but he'll call you by your sins. Don't let him rub your nose in it. You're not meant to hold the weight of your guilt. Jesus Christ can handle that. You cannot. In fact, that's why Carl Jung, contemporary of Sigmund Freud, who was not a Catholic, said if his patients went to confession, he would lose 99% of them. Because the healing power of just knowing those words for the ministry of the church, may God grant you pardon and peace, and I absolve you of all of your sins. The weight is gone. And so God did not, people think, why do I have to go to a priest to get confession? God wanted to give us his mercy so much that he gave us the sacrament. The early church, I mean, you think reading the Acts of the Apostles, people are like, well, why do I have to go to an apostle to get this demon out of my kid? You know, yeah, my grandma's dead, but why do I have to bring her to Paul? Why do I have to bring her to Peter? It's like, they realized God wanted to be so close to us that he brought these graces through these ministers in the church. Same thing with the sacrament of reconciliation. And most importantly, as Crystal said, spending time with our Lord in adoration and Mass and here. How can you not want to pray? Have you seen the kneelers in there? I mean, they're like down comforters. I mean, there's no reason to stop praying in there. I mean, I would bring a sleeping bag. And so, go, make those things flat. That's your job. Flatten those kneelers by the end of the year, okay? So go to him, to be loved by him as you are. And to help you as you leave, we have brought for you resources. Nothing is for sale, everything is free. And so these things, don't just take them for you. You got a roommate who you know needs this, bring it to them. This one, How to Save Your Marriage Before You Meet Your Spouse, is very similar to this talk, only given by me. Women Made New is my wife giving her story. Green Sex talks about contraception and the church's teachings on that. There's different ones on how to break free from porn. So if you have a friend who needs that, put it in their backpack. Like, I'm not judging, read this, that one. My wife and I wrote this one for the women, How to Find Your Soulmate Without Losing Your Soul. 21 Secrets for Women. I know a girl who, on campus, whenever a guy hits on her, she goes back to her dorm, she rereads the first chapter, which is the top 10 guys to avoid. And then she comes in and she's like, no, you're number 3 and number 7 and number 9. Some people are like, where's the book for guys? Guys don't read. So here it is right there. Right? So wrote this for girls called Pure Womanhood. In the middle is a dump him list. It's kind of handy sometimes. If you really love me, is the top 100 questions we get on dating and sexuality, theology of his body and her body, a biography of my heroes, St. John Paul the Great, who's essentially who we plagiarized from all night long, and then emotional virtue, how to have drama-free relationships with Sarah Swafford. Do book studies on these things. The Soulmate book, emotional virtue, get girls together. Freshman orientation. Don't let this opportunity go by. Girls, hey, put posters up in the dorm. Hey, we're going to be having this book study, you know, on how to find your soulmate and love your soul. Evangelize, go out, throw out your nets into the deep. Pure Faith, there's a prayer book, there's even an app if you got an iPhone. There's a little postcard here. You can download all of our talks for free onto your phone. On the other side is our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all the stuff. Her website, my website, chastity.com, and Women Made New. And then also, there's little brochures you can pick up at our website. Right? All these books are free today, and on our website, they're between $1 and $3. And the reason we do this is because we think some of the greatest apostles in the church are not motivational speakers. They're people in the trenches like you who know, hey, let's get 400 of these books. Just pass them around. I know at some colleges, they will contact us on the website and we have these chastity projects. Where they say, look, we're college students, we're basically broke, but we want to evangelize. So can you send us like 500 free books? Because, you know, at our university, they'll say, we're having sex week on our campus, where they bring in Planned Parenthood, they bring in all this stuff, and they have these booths with all this debauchery and devices and contraceptions and all this stuff. And we, because, hey, equal speech, freer speech, we want to have a booth at the sex fair. And so the Newman Center will bring a booth to the sex fair, and they will call it Plan C, okay? Instead of Plan B, it's C, chastity. So they got their Plan C booth there. They just pass out all this stuff. And then one of these universities had an exit survey after the sex fair. What is it you learned most at this year's sex fair? #1 reply from the students on the campus was chastity. And so we can't let the culture, be afraid of what the culture's going to do to us. The culture should fear what we're going to do to it. And so get these resources. It's dirt cheap. There is a little collection basket at the end of the table. If you have $5, $20, your car keys, anything like that. And then we take that money and then we buy more free stuff. Like next week I'll be speaking at 6 high schools, 7 high schools in Cleveland. I'm going to LeBron James's old high school, St. Vincent St. Mary's. Like you never know what athlete or whatever could be in that audience. Hear the talk, get a resource, and what they could be 10, 15 years from now. And so any penny that goes in there helps us to distribute more of these resources. On our website, you can even give $10 a month as a way of tithing. I know one priest told his penitent in confession, for your penance, I want you to donate, to go find some chastity ministry and donate. And he sent us this huge check. He said, I wanted to send basically $10 for every time that I've done this or that or that. And so he sent us this huge gift as his penance. And so, but if you have not a penny, I don't care. What I ask of you is your prayers for our family, our spiritual protection, our marriage. If you'd pray for all the kids that we speak to next week in Cleveland and beyond. Because we're doing universities all over the country and the world, and God knows, I could speak to your future husband or wife a month from now. You never know what lifestyle they get in. So you have a vested interest in my ministry. And so, but I just want to show you that we have been praying for you as well. And I'll leave you with this. If all the stuff that we've dumped on you is heavy, and I wish my wife and I could stay late into the night and talk to you, but we got to get kids up at 6 o'clock in the morning to take to school tomorrow morning. I got to drive back down to Scottsdale tonight, so unfortunately we've got to zip out rather quickly tonight. But if there's anything I could leave you with, it would be this: that if after hearing all this stuff, maybe you feel like a mess. Maybe you feel like, oh man, like I know we're supposed to be saints, we're supposed to be all this stuff. I just feel so far from that. A friend of mine is always reading books about saints. And I saw him recently. I'm like, oh, hey, you reading any good saint books? He's like, yeah, I'm reading about saints and addictions. I'm like, oh, cool, like saints who help people with addictions. He's like, no, the saints who are addicts. And I'm like, I don't remember reading about them in catechism class. Like, he's like, oh yeah, check out this guy. He gives me the guy's name, Saint Mark Ji Cheng Zhang from China. So 30-something-year-old husband and father came down with a stomach ailment. He treated himself with the drug opium, which was a common medication at that time. The stomach ailment was resolved, but the addiction remained. He became addicted to the drug opium. So he goes to confession. Father, forgive me, I've fallen into this drug addiction. Priest absolves him, gives him some advice, and he leaves. He's fallen back to the drug addiction. Goes back to confession, back to addiction, back and forth, back and forth. To the extent where the priest told him, the fact that you keep going to the drugs tells me you're not really sorry. And so because I don't think you have this real contrition, I want you to not receive communion anymore at Mass. Still go to church, but don't receive communion, and don't come back to confession until you overcome your addiction. Which is obviously bad pastoral advice. He didn't understand the nature of addiction. But the man obeyed him, and Mark left, and he went to communion but didn't receive, and he fell back to the addiction and tried to start over, kept falling back, and for a year he didn't receive the sacraments. But he kept trying to fight. He was a faithful husband and father, good doctor, but he had his vice. And 10 years went by, 20, 30 years now have gone by, and he's not received the sacraments. Still trying to fight this battle. And he just started praying to God that God would make him a martyr. Because he said, I can see no way of entering heaven as I am. And God answered his prayer. In the year 1900, the Boxer Rebellion came into China. The Catholics began to be rounded up and executed. He and 9 members of his family were dragged off to be killed. And as they were being dragged off in a place of torture and death, his grandson said to him, Grandpa, where are we going? Where are we going? And Mark said to him, we're going home. And they brought him to the place of execution. And he begged the torturers to kill him last, so that none of the family would have to die without him by their side. And one by one, they cut the heads off, everyone in his family, until last they beheaded him as he was singing the litany of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And today he's a canonized saint in the Catholic Church who died addicted to opium. This is proof that the saint is not the one who does not have a mess in their life. The saint is the one who gives their mess utterly to Jesus Christ. So whatever your mess might be, tonight, give it to him in that chapel on the way out. Give it to him in the sacrament of reconciliation. Come to him to be loved by him, and he will do the rest. So God bless you, and thank you once again for watching.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, you who are a communion of life and love, who made us because you knew that the world would be better with us, even though we're not perfect. But you have a plan that you've been working our entire lives to bring us to perfection in your love. Lord, that plan will continue until we are with you in heaven. And we give you permission this night to continue your plan. We offer you ourselves as we are, and we give you permission to continue the good work you have begun in us. And we lift up the person that maybe you're calling us to marry, if our vocation is marriage, that you would watch over that person, that they might know you, that they might know their value and goodness, that they might surround themselves with other good people. And we pray the same for ourselves, that we might respond to each of your invitations to receive your love, to be transformed, to become that saint that can help get our spouse and children to heaven. Mother Mary, we entrust ourselves to you, our vocations to you, you who are always by our side. Pray for us. Remind us that we can turn to you in every moment as we pray together. Hail Mary,
full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour.
St. John Paul II,
Pray for us.
in the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.